If you've been following this whole Brexit drama since the very beginning, you will know that one word often comes almost immediately after Brexit more than anything else, and that is, of course, Brexit betrayal. Yes, the Brexiteers are indeed the first people to cry betrayal the second they even think that their precious Brexit might not be going the way that they want, especially when we see things like the Northern Ireland Protocol, the government having to back down over the trying to get rid of the European Court of Justice role in essentially resolving disputes on the Northern Ireland Protocol mechanism that is in there. That again, Johnson and Frost, literally only a year ago, was saying that this was an absolutely fantastic deal and that he was oven ready to go. And of course, here we are a year later, and both Boris and Frost were both saying that this was absolutely awful and that this couldn't be allowed to stand anymore. Indeed, most of the Brexiteers are now even calling this a Brexit betrayal. It's quite fascinating how you look at the whole sorry history of Brexit. Everything seems to start off fine, but the second that that becomes the accepted wisdom on Brexit, it is all of a sudden betrayals, and it's not the Brexit that these hard Brexiteers really wanted. The truth is that they never have ever admitted what the hard Brexit is that they want, but it's what they're pushing for now, because they knew that they would never ever be able to get it over in a referendum if they would tell people this is what we want, this is what Brexit actually means, this is what leave means in itself. Of course, that never means anything, because again, they won't tell you what Brexit means, but you only have to look at books like Britannia Unchained, how the Brexiteers themselves have talked about they're wanting to deregulate and diverge from the EU, to even Lord Frost in his resignation letter saying that this wasn't the Brexit that he wanted either, and that it was very disappointed that Britain wasn't following the path of low tax and a low regulatory economy that he wanted, moving away from, quote, European style systems that exist in our government. But again, what are these European style systems that Frost and the Brexiteers want to get rid of? What are these regulations that they want to get rid of? Well, again, we have to turn back to Britannia Unchained. Pretty much it's the book that, if you want to understand this current Conservative government, the direction that they want to take the UK, and indeed their aims and goals, you should absolutely be reading. And remember, in its very opening passages, this book clearly states the British workers are, quote, the laziest in the world, not because of poor investment, poor infrastructure, the way the British business does work, or anything like that. It's no, they are lazy because they are protected by too many worker rights. So that's just one of the many things that they indeed want to get rid of. And I've said before, we need to go through and have a look at how this book got critiqued even at the time, because I think even more going forward, it's important for you to understand what this Tory government really is about. But today, we are going to be talking about the Brexit betrayal theory, because the Brexiteers are always the first to say that this is a betrayal. They are ready to be the betrayers, not the betrayed, whenever their precious project does not seem to be working. And as the tagline even says, they would rather be betrayed than actually be proven wrong. We've already seen today that a study came out saying that the impact on Brexit is like 175% worse than any predictors had been thinking in terms of loss. And again, we've covered that at length before on this channel, so that shouldn't be a surprise to you. But anyway, let's go diving into this piece from the London Economic. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel below. So let's dive into this. This comes from the London Economic, as I said earlier, with the title of The Brexit Betrayal Theory. There can be few things in life worse than being wrong. The embarrassment, the ignominy, the humiliation, the shame. I've been wrong from time to time, and unless you're actually the Dalai Lama, the Pope, or even perhaps Brian Cole, the chances are that you have been too. And you'll know as well as I do that there is, in fact, only one thing worse than being wrong, and that is admitting that you are. For those Brexit MPs who look through the rose-tinted glasses at life outside the European Union and fervently sold the British public the realization that reality isn't all it's cracked up to be, must be pretty hard to actually stomach. The trade deals have left us in a deficit. We're bound by more red tape than we ever had been before, and there is an unshakable feeling that freedom in a globalized world isn't as liberating as it at all. The prospectus of John Liz's recently wrote, the irony of the last 5 years is that Theresa May's first and emptiest slogan was both and the truest of the hardest to try and accept. That Brexit really does mean Brexit. If you erect trade barriers, trade will be harder. If you gut the workforce, there will be fewer people to do the necessary jobs. If you leave a club, you can no longer enjoy the perks of the membership. It was something that many of us have spent those 5 years pointing out. And whatever think you actually voted for was never going to happen. As James O'Brien said, and that the attacking the people who told you the truth rather than those who lied to you is futile. But unfortunately, the people who told the lies have never have started to change their tune. Lord Frost's resignation set in motion something that we have come to coin the term of Brexit betrayal theory in the office. When the former semi-former Brexit secretary announced that he was stepping down, the former Brexit party leader Nigel Farage claimed that he was leaving the government because he is, quote, a conservative and a true Brexiteer, while Johnson is neither. And when Nadine Dorries, the culture secretary, tried to defend the prime minister in a Tory WhatsApp group because she was, quote, the hero who delivered Brexit, she was dolefully removed by the former ERG chairman, Steve Baker, who proclaimed that enough is enough before posting a thumbs up emoji for himself. Notice that there are a lot of, quote, formers in that sentence, and for good reason. When May chose her first cabinet, she made sure to fill it with Brexiteers, and few of them actually remain in their positions today. The most vocal Brexiteers no longer extol the virtues of life outside the European Union. They have left all their propositions and now bemoan those still trying to make good on their impossible promises and their impossible project. And when it doesn't work out, it's not because it was a bad idea in the first place, but because we didn't Brexit properly. After all, in life, it is often better to have done wrong than have done wrong, and therein lies the rub. So there you have it. A constant series of betrayals and Brexit betrayals, and this goes all the way back, like I say, to Theresa May. And the funny thing is now, of course, with Liz Truss in charge of now David Frost's former position, trying to do these negotiations, and of course her reinstating, of course, that Britain will not drop the pledge that it wants the ECG to stay in the Northern Ireland Protocol, being very much now a hardened Brexiteer, again trying to play to a shall we say, potential new electorate audience that will hopefully elect her in the future. That is what she wants. But of course, we've been on this song and dance for almost a year. And bear in mind, nothing's changed. So the fact that Liz Truss is now just going to perform basically the Lord Frost tribute act, performing all his best hit and singles, such as Article 16. That's not the Brexit that we voted for. That Britain deserves sovereignty, and that somehow Northern Ireland, even though it is again flourishing business-wise in the single market customs union, shouldn't not apply to the rest of the country, because apparently that's not what they voted for, even though Liz Truss herself campaigned for Remain and has lots and lots of sound bites of, well, her telling the British public about how bad Brexit will actually be, which again is indeed the peak of irony that she is where she is now. Of course, that's part of her, again, switching sides purely for, again, political gain. But the big question is, will this hurt her chances? We don't know. We'll have to see how her negotiating skills go. But considering the fact that, again, her perceived negotiating skills are pretty much come from her being the International Trade Secretary, where she did nothing really, I'm not expecting much. So with that said, as always, Thank you once again for watching, and please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And of course, the YouTube memberships are open as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next.